Most people think death comes suddenly, but in truth, it leaves breadcrumbs if we know where to look. Unlike in the movies, there's no looming storm, no alarm bell, and no whispered warning. But if you've spent enough time walking the quiet hallways of hospitals like I have, you'll realize the human body always whispers its truth long before the mind can catch up to what's coming. I've spent over 3 decades beside patients in their 70s, 80s, even 90s. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: the body always begins to send quiet signals, almost a full year before the end. Most of us don't notice them, or if we do, we chalk them up to just aging. But what if I told you that recognizing these signs isn't about giving up, it's about giving more, more care, more presence, more love during the final chapter of someone's life? So today, as someone who has witnessed hundreds of final goodbyes, I want to share with you 5 quiet signs I often observe in the elderly, right around a year before they pass away. This is not a lesson in fear. It's a call to awareness, to deeper love, and to not miss the chance to live fully during the last shared days. Before we dive into the first sign, if you care about the health and well-being of the elderly, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more life-changing insights. Sign number 1, a change in personality, when the mind begins to step back. I still remember Clara, 89 years old, a retired literature professor. She had a strong personality, loved a good debate, and had the habit of correcting everyone's grammar, even her doctors. Yet during one of her last follow-up visits, she simply sat there, quietly smiling. No debating, no grumbling about politics. Instead, she asked me, "Doctor, are you getting enough sleep these days?" I was taken aback. Later, her daughter confided, "Lately, she just sits and watches the trees outside the window. She doesn't say much, just quiet." This is what psychologists call pre-terminal emotional withdrawal. Not depression, not confusion, but a gentle detachment from the external world. Roughly a year before death, many elderly individuals begin to argue less, stop sweating the things that once made them angry. Let go of grudges, not necessarily out of forgiveness, but because they simply no longer have the energy. Speak less, remain silent more often, and drift into private reflection. It's as if they're slowly stepping into another garden, one only they can see. What can you do? Don't pull them back into the noise of life. Walk beside them. Ask about old memories. Listen. Remember. This phase often invites stories and truths they've never shared before. Sign number 2, loss of appetite, but not because of illness. Many people assume that eating less is caused by sickness, boredom, or medication. But in reality, the body begins to switch off non-essential systems during the final year, and digestion is one of the first to shut down. You might notice no more cravings. Favorite meals suddenly feel too much. Loss of taste, eating and drinking less, or just sipping occasionally. I once cared for Mr. Jimenez, a World War II veteran who loved his grilled steak every Sunday. Then one day he gently pushed the plate away and whispered, "I think I don't need it anymore." No fever, no infection, no new medications. But his body had begun the quiet release. Families often panic, trying to force food or drinks, but this sometimes causes more discomfort. What should you do? Let meals be moments of joy, not obligation. Offer a little warm porridge, fresh juice, or ginger honey tea. Gently invite, but don't insist. Most importantly, understand that this isn't skipping meals. It's the body preparing to say goodbye. If you found these signs insightful so far, don't miss the next 3. They are perhaps the most profound indicators of this sacred transition and will help you care better and love deeper. Sign number 3, decreased movement. A growing stillness spreads. It's normal to slow down with age, but this is something different. No falls, no pain, no injuries. And yet, they begin to walk less, sleep more, avoid stairs, stop engaging in activities they once loved. I once cared for Mr. Charles, a man who took his morning walk around the garden every day with a cup of coffee. He called it his thinking path. Then one morning, he didn't go. I asked why. He simply said, "It's too windy today." But there was no wind. He just didn't feel the need to move anymore. What can you do? Don't push them to get up. Swap the walk for a gentle hand massage or foot rub. Help with small movements so they still feel valued. And above all, know that this stillness is not laziness. It's a sacred phase of the journey. Sign number 4, moments of clarity, then sudden confusion. when the mind shakes one last time. One of the most baffling things families ask me, why was mom so alert talking normally, and then just days later, she's confused and talking nonsense? The answer is, in the final stages, an elderly person's mind becomes incredibly fragile. Even small changes, dehydration, a bad night's sleep, or new medication, can trigger mild delirium. They may forget names of close loved ones, see people who've passed, speak incoherently or confuse dates, blur the line between dreams and reality. I remember Mrs. Florence, 94 years old. Once sharp as a tack, she used to tutor her grandkids in math. Then one morning, she looked at me, smiled, and asked, "Doctor, have you seen my Jack today? I heard him knock this morning." Mr. Jack, her husband, had passed away 22 years earlier, but there was no sadness in her eyes, just serenity. I didn't correct her. I just sat down, held her hand, and said, maybe he stopped by for a little visit. What should you do? Don't try to correct their thoughts. Don't force them to snap out of it. It can be frightening. Instead, be present. Walk into their world with them. Gently revisit familiar stories. Use music, old photos, or comforting scents to bring them peace. Sign number 5, the spiritual door opens. Intuition before the final goodbye. Do you believe that many of my patients know when they're about to leave? Not with words, not with medical tests, but through their gaze, the way they say goodbye, the whispers they speak in the final moments. I remember Mr. Elias, an elderly painter who once did portraits of bishops. When he was admitted to the hospital, he told me, "Don't tell my children, I just want a few days of silence to prepare." He created one last drawing, in pencil on newspaper. It showed a door opening into sunlight. The next morning, he passed. Peacefully. Pain-free. A study from a palliative care center in Norway found that over 82% of elderly patients experience vivid, real dreams of deceased loved ones, bright lights, or gentle voices in their final 2 weeks. These are not hallucinations. They are spiritual transitions, helping them release and find closure. What can you do? Don't be afraid if they speak to mom or a brother from the war. See it as a healing process, reconciling unfinished stories. Sit beside them, listen, or just quietly be there. A story I'll never forget, the wife who never left his side. Let me leave you with one real story I'll never forget. Mr. William and Mrs. Esther, married for 64 years. Mr. William was admitted with end-stage heart failure. Doctors gave him just a few weeks, but Mrs. Esther, 87 at the time, refused to leave the hospital. She stayed 24/7, sleeping in a chair, eating from lunchboxes. On his final day, Mr. William was too weak to speak. Mrs. Esther simply sat there, placed her hand on his chest, and softly read their favorite poem. "You are not gone. You are just quietly walking to a meadow where I'll one day follow." And when the poem ended, he took his last breath. No tears, just a soft breeze, as if he had stepped through a different door. A geriatric doctor's message. To those caring for the elderly. If you're living with an elderly parent or grandparent and you've noticed any of the signs above, please don't panic. Remember, no one truly disappears in a day. Death is a process, and it begins with the gentlest signs. When the body withdraws, your love and presence become the most powerful medicine. Say what you need to say. Don't wait for tomorrow. And if you can, hold their hand for a long time. Touch is the last language the body still understands. Final lesson. Dying isn't scary. Not living the final days fully. As I once asked Mrs. Margot, 95 years old, lying in her hospital bed, "Are you afraid of dying?" She smiled and said, "No, I'm only afraid I won't stay lucid long enough to say thank you." That day, she asked us to call each of her grandchildren. She said her thanks, offered her blessings, then closed her eyes, in peace. If you're reading this right now, that means you care. And that alone, your presence, your awareness, can change everything for someone in their final year. Like this video if it touched your heart. Subscribe for more true stories and insights on aging, care, and what it really means to be alive. Because sometimes, the quietest signs carry the loudest truths.